Let's talk about a group of companies that are true masters of their universe, yet they operate almost completely in the shadows. We're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden champions.
That quote from a CEO of one of these companies, it really says it all, doesn't it? These aren't flashy startups trying to get headlines, and they're not the corporate giants you see everywhere. No, their real power comes from being invisible.
And that's the central paradox, the thing that makes them so fascinating. We're talking about medium-sized, often family-owned businesses that you probably never even heard of, and yet they have a grip on their global markets that would make giants like Apple or Coca-Cola totally envious.
So the big question is, who are they? Who are these companies that are quietly running huge parts of our global economy? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into right now. We'll find out who they are, how they operate, and what makes them these invisible titans of trade.
All right, so let's meet a few of them. Now, you're probably not going to recognize the names, but I can guarantee you their impact is all around us.
I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this. Howny makes the machines that make 90% of the world's cigarettes. Botter's equipment processes almost all the fish we eat. You know that water filter pitcher in your fridge? Yep, almost certainly a Brita. It's kind of amazing. They're not just leading their markets. In many cases, they are the market.
So, what officially makes a company one of these powerhouses? Well, the term hidden champion was actually coined by a business strategist named Herman Simon, and he laid out three very specific rules.
Okay, so here's the formula. First, you have to be at the absolute top of your game, number 1 or 2 in the world, or at least number 1 on your continent. Second, you're not some massive corporation. And third, and this is the crucial part, the general public has no idea who you are. It's that magic combination of dominance, size, and total obscurity. And this chart, wow, it really shows you the gap. On average, a hidden champion owns over 30% of its global market. Now look at its strongest competitor. They've barely got half of that. We're not just talking about winning a race here. We're talking about lapping the competition. Which brings us to the core question. How? How in the world do they pull this off while staying so small and so far under the radar? It's not magic, I can tell you that. It comes down to a disciplined, almost fanatical devotion to a few core principles. Let's break down their secrets. All right, secret number 1. And this one goes against pretty much everything you hear about modern business. They don't diversify. They do the exact opposite. They focus with an intensity that is just obsessive. Think of it like this. A generalist company tries to be a Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of things okay, but a hidden champion, they aim to be a surgeon's scalpel. They do one thing perfectly. They don't just make car parts. They make gas-pressurized springs for trunks and hatches. They don't make kitchen appliances. They make the world's best industrial dishwashers for hotels. See the difference? And they go deep. I mean, they master every single aspect of that one niche. They do their own research, their own manufacturing, their own sales. That creates this incredible fortress of expertise that a bigger, more spread out competitor just can't touch. Now for secret number 2. This is where it all clicks together. If you're so focused on one tiny thing, how do you ever get big? Well, it's simple. You take that tiny niche to the entire world. Their whole strategy really rests on these 2 pillars. You have extreme laser-like focus on the product, and at the same time, this massive, expansive view of the market. So super narrow on what they make, but incredibly wide on where they sell it. And that's the genius of it, right? You might be the best in the world at making, I don't know, a special kind of sealant for wine corks. Sounds like a tiny business, doesn't it? But when every major winery on the planet is buying from you, well, that tiny business is suddenly a very profitable global empire. Okay, the final secret. This one has nothing to do with markets or products. It's about people. And more specifically, it's about time. What does this number mean? It's not a market share. It's not a growth rate. It's a measure of something that is incredibly rare in the business world today. 24.5 years. That is the average time a single CEO stays at the helm of one of these companies. Now, compare that to the 5 or 6 years you see at most big public companies. This incredible stability allows them to have a long-term vision that just isn't possible when you're worried about the next quarterly report. And this quote from Michelangelo, it just captures their whole philosophy.
Their success isn't built on crazy pivots or trying to be the next big disruption. It's built on decades of slow, steady, relentless improvement in one very specific thing. So, what's the takeaway from all this? What can we learn from these invisible titans? Because their playbook, well, it offers a really powerful alternative to how most of us think about building a business.
The lessons here are pretty clear. Define your market so narrowly that you can absolutely dominate it. Combine that specialized focus with a global perspective. Value persistence over short-term fads. Build your entire strategy on being the best, not the cheapest. And whatever it is that makes you special, your core expertise, protect it. Don't outsource your soul.
This audit chart really drives the point home. On the left, you've got a hidden champion. Their performance is highest on the things they say are most important, like ambitious goals. They walk the talk. On the right, you have a more typical corporation, and it's kind of all over the map. The champions are ruthlessly aligned. They know what matters, and they just execute. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. You know, we live in an age that celebrates speed, constant change, and disruption. But the hidden champions, they suggest a totally different path. They prove that maybe the most powerful, most unbeatable competitive advantage isn't speed at all, but stamina. Not disruption, but a deep, unshakable, and generational patience.